summer, baby.
DJ, you spent 17 years inside some of America's most violent federal prisons. What was the moment you realized you were done letting prison shape your destiny?
Man, when you behind that wall and you see all the violence and you see time pass you by, you sit there and say, is this what I'm here for? So by seeing homeboys come in and go out and come in and violate and come back in the positions that I had to be in at times, I thought about that and said, something's got to change.
Hmm. What were some of the toughest lessons from those years that still guide you today?
Some of the toughest lessons is being powerless up in that joint. You know, when my self will, they put you in that black box, they transfer you, do a lot of shoe time, which is special housing unit, spending like months and months and months. And I had to take that discipline. And if I can take this discipline home with me, I know I'll be successful. You know what I'm saying? Like when you on the pen, you can't take naps. When the homies, when they rack them gates, you fully dressed. Your words and actions got to match. You got to be a man of your word, and you got to do what you say. So if I can be successful in that penitentiary by keeping my word and doing what I just talked about, if I can apply those same principles in the community, I know I'll be successful. Mindset. It's the mindset.
Okay. How did the mindset you developed in prison prepare you for life on the outside?
Man, like I said, it's all about my goals, what I want to do with myself, and changing the mindset, taking those penitentiary assets and applying them in a real world situation. So my mindset had to change totally in order for me to be successful out here. And when I mean success, it's not about dollars, it's about accomplishing my goals.
Okay. Well, reentry. I know you had some early struggles.
Hell
You,
yeah.
you came home and took an $8 dollar job to twirling side.
Yeah, that's one thing. That's one thing people say. Is like you how you go from twirling signs for $8 an hour. From being a dope boy. You know what I'm saying? And now you're twirling for Verizon wireless signs. See, it goes back to the mindset because in the penitentiary, you're gonna have to work somewhere. I worked in the pot and pan room with the homies, and you getting paid 4 cents an hour, and they waking you up at old dark 100, So if I can, you know what I'm saying. So if I can do that in the penitentiary, I know I could twirl Verizon wireless signs. So it's all about the mindset. So it sounds crazy, but I took that asset, um, being in the pot and pan room with the homies, and I took that work ethic and I took it out because you're gonna work in the pot and pan room for 8 hours.
Mm, mm. So twirling signs. What did that season in your life teach
Oh,
you about humility
oh
and
my goodness, man! The humility of twirling Verizon wireless signs and my hometown and hoping nobody see me, But what it did was it humbled me. It humbled me, and it was way better than 6 cents an hour.
mm, mm.
You know.
Okay. So, what were some of the biggest barriers you faced as an ex-con trying to reintegrate into society?
Oh, one of the biggest barriers I had to face was, is like I can't make up for lost time.
Mm,
You dig what I'm saying? Employment, it's like you think I'm really gonna get a good job when I never had a job before,
mm,
especially with education. Do you really think I'm gonna get a good job with a basic education? So digging ditches was an option. I dug ditches. This is gonna sound crazy. I even mowed lines.
mm,
I mowed people's lines. Clean garages, and it was hard work, but it was. I always had to go back. I worked in the pot and pan room for a very long time. You see, when you do like 17 years in the penitentiary, you I actually grew up in that joint, you know what I'm saying? And so I needed to real talk, homie. I had to just change my entire mindset.
So when you felt discouraged or overlooked, what kept you moving instead of giving up?
Okay, let me tell you one part, man. When I was twirling Verizon wireless signs for $8 an hour, they came up to me like 2 months later and said, "I'm sorry, your services is no longer needed." And you know what that does for an ego. This is an $8 an hour job, and you telling me my services is no longer needed. So what that did was, for a split second, my mind was telling me, "Man, bump this." I'm gonna go back to doing what I'm doing. I'm taking this 1990 game, 1989 game to 2007, and I thought about it, but I thought about the consequences because I don't want to be like United States of America versus DJ Verrett. I don't want to do that again.
Hmm. So when you're breaking to Hollywood, you were working in Hollywood on Sons of Anarchy. How did you go from twirling signs to working on a hit TV show?
Man, I'm being at the right place at the right time. That's what it was about, being at the right place at the right time. I was approached by this cat named Jimmy. He was the casting director or agent for the show, and this lady named Kathy Casper. Now, the synchronicities of that is that from where I'm from my neighborhood, I'm called Ghost, Casper the Ghost, which is tatted on my body. And her name was Kathy Casper. So I was wearing a tank top. That's when I was on Diesel at the time. Mm-hmm. And she walked up on me and was like, "Excuse me, we like your look. Do you think you could play a convict?" Now you got these white folks, you know what I'm saying, come up to me talking about, "You think you could play a convict?" Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, I had a long beard, braids in my hair, and I was on swole at the time. I had like 19s. And I said, "I think so. I think so." I'm like, "Why?" And she's like, "We work on this TV show called Sons of Anarchy. And we like your look, and we're doing these prison scenes. And here goes our card. If you're available, call this number." So I did. And then I called. They gave me the address. I went over there to the old county jail in downtown. It was hot. And now I didn't know everybody was actors there because they had actors looking like sheriff deputies. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, by being an ex-felon on paper and all that stuff, just getting out the penitentiary, I kind of avoided them, you dig? And then they saw Caddy like, hey, Casper, DJ. I'm like, what's going on, y'all? I'm like, "Hey, check this out. Is them deputies real?" Like, "Nah, everybody here is an actor." So I'm like, "Damn, really?" So, I spoke with the people who I needed to speak with, and they were doing the prison scene inside the hospital. And so, I changed clothes, put the county blues on or the county oranges on, and they were like, "Is this real?" I'm like, "Nah, it's not real." I said, "People on the streets will probably believe it, but nah, in the penitentiary." He said, "Well, how would this go?" And I said, "It go like this. You gotta do this. You gotta do that." Now you got to remember, I ain't never been on TV. So they were like, "We want you to do it." I'm like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Yeah, we want you to do it." I said, "I'm not an actor." He said, "Just act like you in the penitentiary." And we shot the scene, and I stabbed dude up. It was crazy, wow. But that's how I got my start.
So what did that experience though teach you about opportunity, professionalism, or staying ready?
Now, just think, if my mindset said if I could not do that job working, twirling Verizon wireless signs for $8 an hour, I wouldn't have, had this opportunity. So when I got let go from that $8 an hour job, I wouldn't have went to where I went to, and that, inches and seconds, I wouldn't have met them because they, Jim and Kathy kind of changed my life. You know what I'm saying? And from there, man, I wouldn't have got a chance to, be on that show. It's crazy, homie, because I became, a SAG member, SAG-AFTRA. I worked on NCIS LA with LL Cool J. I worked with him, which was the GOAT, and I got some way out stories with LL. And I also worked with this young singer named Selena Gomez.
Mm.
So all that stuff and a whole bunch of different people, man. And so Hollywood, red carpets, all that stuff. So it's like it's like crazy, homie, because I'm on paper and I'm around these actors, you
Mm.
know, and these celebrities. So I really couldn't relate to them.
So you didn't go Hollywood, huh?
No, I didn't. No, I
Oh.
didn't. You know,
Did you ever struggle with imposter syndrome, going from a federal prison to a major television show in Hollywood?
yeah, I did. I felt it's like, it's like, damn, homie, how, I felt strange. I felt out of place. I felt like a fish out of water because, all these motherfuckers were straight actors, and I felt like a buster, I felt like an imposter, but I know that it was for a reason, it was for a reason because when that first show aired, the homies in the day room with Ice to sit in the day room with them, the show came on. And they're like, that's Ghost. That's Ghost. So, I stayed in contact with the homies. They writing me and stuff, and I'm like sending pictures. I'm like, yeah, homie, this really happened. So but yeah, I kind of stepped away from it because it was like it wasn't real to me. It wasn't right here. You dig?
Well, speaking about what's real, you founded UCAN, Urban Community Action Network. What inspired you to launch the Urban Community Action Network instead of settling in any job or going back to Hollywood?
Well, I knew that I was, that 17 years prison sentence I did, it couldn't be in vain.
Hmm.
So I had to use it as one of my greatest assets. And the things I got a chance to be a part of, those were assets too. It's all about the mindset. You dig what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So I left, man. I went there and I needed to change some stuff. So that's what I changed. And I like doing what I'm doing. So being a drug and alcohol counselor, I went back to school. Got my drug and alcohol counselor. I started as a case manager, a counselor, a director, assistant program director, and I began to develop reentry programs,
Wow.
and that's when my supervisor told me one day. He was like, "DJ, I think you can do this on your own," and I said, I don't know how," and he told me, "You can."
Hmm.
So I'm like, "You can, you can."
Hmm.
So then I mess with the words and Urban Community Action Network. So
Hmm.
that's what it is.
Well, now you know UCAN now is $1 million nonprofit. What was the first spark that started UCAN Vision?
Say that again.
What was the first spark that started the UCAN Vision?
By working in other agencies, I'm seeing where they're failing the participants, failing the men, and the reentry, and the revolving door. So it's like, okay, everything that I've accomplished since I've been out, when I touched these 10 toes down, that was the spark. You dig what I'm saying? And I know what these men and women need because I needed it myself.
Hmm.
And so I designed UCAN's curriculum and program after everything that I've accomplished and also my academic um, experience with my personal experience. And so that's what sparked UCAN.
So you do believe in experience, lived experience.
Lived experience is way better than any kind of education that you can
Well,
receive.
why is lived experience so important when designing a reentry or community program?
Because it's I live there. I live there.
Hmm.
You live there.
Hmm.
I ain't gonna put anybody down that don't live there that want to be a part of the solution, but you ain't walked in my shoes,
Hmm.
and we have a certain talent and authenticity that cats in the neighborhoods, in the communities that we come from, that need the support, and they need to see themselves in us like we see ourselves in them.
Hmm.
But we need the support for all other people that's going to come in that may have some experience that we don't have on a higher level of education, but lived experience is the best experience.
Hmm.
You dig what I'm saying?
You mentioned other people coming in, and I know that's often a challenge.
Hmm.
What was some of the early challenges that you faced building UCAN from scratch?
Experience.
Hmm.
experience. I was just, it was like, okay, now I need to make these connections. I need to do this. I need to do that. In order for UCAN to grow, and I knew it was going to happen. I didn't know when, but when it did happen, everything changed.
Mm-hmm. When did you realize UCAN wasn't just an idea? When did it become real and a powerful movement?
When I believed in it,
Mm.
when I believed in it, UCAN was just, it just wasn't an idea. It was, I guess you could say it was an idea, but I knew it right here. I knew it right here in my soul, my being, that UCAN is needed, and once I can use my platform, I guess you could say the things I've accomplished. I want UCAN to be attractive. I want UCAN not just for the employees, but I want UCAN to be attractive for the clients that we're going to serve. In our first year, we served 455 people. You dig what I'm saying? So we want to make sure that UCAN is attractive. I don't want to be the founder that just sits in the office.
Well, you're not. Cause, UCAN's helped a lot of people.
Yeah, I love being in the streets.
Helped hundreds of people with housing, employment,
yes,
stability, and healing.
Yes.
But my question is, what does success look like for UCAN and specifically for you now?
Success for me is to continue to live out the dream and to be able to accomplish each goal. It's not about the dollar. The dollar is nothing but a tool, but the goal and the dream is to continue to put out good services and be authentic. The goal and the dream for UCAN is to grow, not just for a year, 2 years, 3 years, but forever. UCAN will be my legacy. I want people in the community to come in here and thrive.
Mm. Okay, so yeah, you're talking about impact and purpose.
Mm-hmm.
What's the biggest misconception that people have about people formerly incarcerated?
Yeah, we always up to no good.
Hmm.
That we always up to no good. See, when you come from a disadvantage, it's become. I'm gonna say when I came from a disadvantage financially, the whole thing, right? So the misconception people may have of people that's ex-felons is that you're always up to something. Yes, I'm always up to, I'm always trying to better myself, but the mindset had to change because the life I was living, Mr. Ghost Local, whatever you want to call it, that was a fictitious character that I believed in since I was 12 years old. You dig what I'm saying? So now I'm living this new way of life, and I'm changing I'm participating in changing the narrative of what people may think of people who've been to prison by my behavior, my accomplishments, and my goals.
So how did your past allow you to connect with people and systems?
Say what?
How did your past, that past you were talking about, how does that help you connect with people and systems in ways that traditional professions often can't?
Because I walked the yard with a lot of cats. I walked the yard with a lot of cats. I did a lot of stuff, especially in the streets and in the penitentiary. And when they see that, they're like, "Damn, this Ghost, he really changed that, right?" And so, but it's also my energy. It's my the way I talk, and that's the asset. You see what I'm saying? Because like I said, I want it to be attractive. You dig what I'm saying? It's like, damn, the homie been right here, struggling, and now he's a servant to the community and to the homies. And I want this thing to be attractive to everybody. See, I don't want anybody that may listen to this and the people that we serve to keep their dreams silent. And to have regrets when they get older. I should have did this. I should have did that. I wouldn't be in the position that I'm in. This is gonna sound crazy on me. I don't know if I believe I was rescued because in the penitentiary on me, I got a lot of obituaries. Yeah. I could have been one. So I like the life. So I'm just trying to make this. UCAN grow because I can. I'm doing it. I ain't done yet. And I want people to know that you can. And especially people who haven't been in the actual prison, We got people who've been in a prison of their own making out here. They just don't watch the sun set behind the gun towers like we did. They watch the sun set from their living room. So that's a prison of their, of their own, and especially the ones we serve on Skid Row. I got the keys to my front door. The community members on Skid Row, their front door is a zipper, and I want to help them change it. So that's why I go down there.
Well, hey, look, you were talking about making sure that you stay mindful of everything that's going on in the community and keep yourself mindful. What's one of the stories from you working in UCAN that reminds you that you have to keep going and be persistent? Give me a story. At least one person in UCAN.
Man, when I go out there, man, I see people out there, and no matter where they are, if they're getting out of the penitentiary or if they are sleeping in the tent, and I get their attention, and they, take some direction because I share with them. Ain't nothing wrong with being a copycat as long as you copy the right cat, and by seeing them recreate their lives, rebuild their lives, and they come into the UCAN office, and they bring their children, and they bring their spouses, and they come just to say, how can I be of service, DJ?
Mm-hmm. And give me one story. Give me one story, one person.
Shoot, I got a lot of stories. Okay, we had this one cat named Jose. I met him. He was in the rain. He was struggling. Him and his family. He came, and now he's thriving. Got a little detailing shop. There's another brother, man, who was a single father because his child's mother had died, and he became a single father. He's like, I don't know how to be a father. And I said, well, you come to UCAN and we'll help you because we got parenting classes. I'm a father. Michael's a father, so we got, we can help you with that. And to see him from living in a vehicle to helping him furnish his first apartment on his own. Those are success stories. When I see these women who are sisters that look like my aunties and my cousins out there, and then we help them with the mental health, substance use, and housing, and then they come back in here talking about they start the coin business. Man, I can keep going on and going on,
Yeah, well, leadership, that comes with leadership and legacy. The next question, because I understand that you built a multi-million-dollar organization with no corporate training. What leadership principles guide you today?
My street entrepreneurship. I always thought big. If I can take back in the day when I was curb serving, to pushing weight. If I can take that same entrepreneurial concept, look at who I want to copy, do the research, get the information that I need. Now you got to understand, I worked in this field for a long time, right? As a drug and alcohol counselor, from drug dealer to drug and alcohol counselor, and I knew that there were dollars out there. I knew how to write, so I wrote the grant, and changed overnight, man. So it's not about the dollars. The dollars make sure that the employees are paid and the services that we do. We are a nonprofit, and so we do got grant dollars that we do use, but with no corporate training,
You've done a lot, man. I commend you. You worked an $8 an hour job, twirling signs. Went from that to acting on television. Went from that to being a drug counselor and a substance abuse counselor. Went from there to owning your own organization and running your own nonprofit organization. Through all that success, the question I have is, how do you stay grounded with everything you've accomplished?
Easy, man. I always remember what it was like. Boots on the ground. I'm always out the office. Like my staff, they're like, where DJ? He out there in the streets. I stay grateful because again, I've been 20 years clean and sober. I'm still one drink, one hit away. I'm not afraid to go to jail. I'm afraid of raising my children in the visiting room.
Mm.
I'm grateful what I get a chance to do. I stay grounded, and plus the people I'm around, they keep me grounded. I keep them grounded.
Mm.
I don't let my, I guess you could say, my accomplishments dictate my character.
Mm. Well
You
said.
know,
Well
so
said.
that's where I'm at. I'm always reachable. I get a chance to take care of my family better than I was given because my mom, she did the best she could what she had to work with. But my children is so I'm a father of twin girls, man. They 11, and they don't know, but I forgot to tell you that I did write a book called An Inside Job, From Life in a Maze to an Amazing Life.
Oh,
And now my children, I'm just dad. So they actually read my book,
mm.
and then they came out like,
Mm.
quiet, and they had my book in their hand. I'm like, what's going on, sweetie? They're like, Daddy, is this real? I'm like, what you mean? And me and my wife were sitting in the living room. They're like, is this real? I said, yes, baby. He said, I didn't know. We didn't know.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's also people are trapped by their past. They don't want to let it out. They don't want to let anybody know about their past.
Hmm.
But what advice would you give someone coming home from prison who feels trapped by their past?
I would let them know that turn that into your greatest asset. I took my asset, my past is like a latte. No foam, no whipped cream, straight keeping it 100, Don't let your past deter you from where you could go in the future. I'm one of them. I'm just one of many who's turned lemonade into lattes. You know what I'm saying? So when you come home from where you coming from, the penitentiary or homelessness, come to UCAN
Mm.
because your past, your lived experience, because somebody in the future is waiting for you to extend that hand to them.
Mm. So, last thing I want, just curious about legacy. Uh, what kind of legacy? I want you to really think about this. What legacy do you want to leave as DJ Verrett, the man, the leader, and the visionary behind UCAN? What legacy do you want to leave?
My legacy is he's struggled.
Mm.
He's admitted his wrongs.
Mm.
He made amends.
Mm.
He's living his true self, and he helps people, and everybody. That's my legacy. That's what I want to leave behind. So when somebody says, what about DJ Verrett? Like, man, that was a good motherfucker.
Mm.
That was a good motherfucker right there. He's because people that know me now, they only know me by keeping my palms down.
Mm.
That means help somebody.
Mm.
They don't know go slow. They don't know that. And then that's what I want to leave behind.
Mm.
I want to leave behind UCAN's my legacy, just like my children. My children, thank God that they're gonna and they're gonna be different. It's like when I was coming up, I never knew my pops, right? Raised by a 17-year-old woman, which was my mother. She was a 17-year-old girl raising me. I didn't inherit nothing.
Mm.
I inherited stuff that kind of held me down because I was looking for acceptance, companionship, and understanding from my homeboys. You dig
Mm.
what I'm saying? I don't want my children, nor do I want anybody else's children to inherit, like, let's say, a Section 8 mindset.
Mm.
I want to. That's why we teach financial literacy here at UCAN, because we want the parents that come in to understand how to use a dollar as a tool so their children can inherit generational wealth versus inheriting a Section 8 GR mindset.
Mm.
So that's the legacy. I want everybody that comes through to understand that, and that's kind of my legacy, I guess.
Hey, that's deep.
Mm-hmm.
This is ride with us. 17 years violent prisons, $8 an hour job, twirling signs.
Mm-hmm.
High actor, author, founder of a multi-million-dollar nonprofit organization that helps those that can't help themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Changing lives, one person at a time.
Yeah. Yeah, we ain't nothing but a platform, man. That's all we do. We want to be able to be a part of the solution versus the problem. We want to be accessible. We want to keep it authentic because I only hire people with lived experience. But then with the lived experience, I want them also to elevate their education because we're dealing with substance use, we're dealing with emotional disorders, we're dealing with all kind of stuff. So I want them not to represent them because they're going to be a representation of Urban Community Action Network. And I just like doing what I'm doing. I feel like I don't even have a job. You dig what I'm saying? And it's real talk, especially people of how I grew up in my community. It's not bad. It's not a bad community. I really don't like people talking about, well, over there's, it's everywhere. Just more, it's more visible. But I had great memories growing up where I grew up, in the projects. But there is a different life. So we have to be better than our parents, and we want our children to be better than us. And I want to change the narrative of what people think about the hood. I want to change the narrative of what people think about ex-felons. I want to change the narrative about that. So and that's what UCAN is about. Because we deal with lots of people, not just, I'm talking about politicians. And so, by being in the penitentiaries, these youngsters, we want you to remember that that is not a passage to manhood. It's a big ass hurdle. And sometimes people don't go home from there.
Hey, I want to thank you, man. Thank you for your honesty, man, and bringing this to the forefront, man.
Yes, most definitely.
Love your success, man. Appreciate your accomplishments. And man, look, hope to see much more of you in the future.
Man, that's what we do. We're gonna ride with us. Saying so. All those listening, we want you to ride with us. It's on the podcast. So check this out. My name is DJ Verrett. Check us out at www.ucanla.org. Join the newsletter and also subscribe to Ride with Us. Peace and love.
Peace and love.